Yes, it is that time again where another Dead by Daylight DLC releases, and you are either absolutely loving the killer and you are constantly waiting 30 minutes in order to load into a match and demolishing the entire team, or you are on the other side of the spectrum and you're a survivor and you have your entire coordinated team on Discord and you're getting demolished by the new killer. It's always the same song and dance every time Dead by Daylight releases a new DLC, and it is no different for Springtrap from Five Nights at Freddy's. Finally, an IP that tons of people have been really wanting to come to the game ever since it first released. Since Five Nights at Freddy's was booming during the time Dead by Daylight came out, and it just never got added. I think Five Nights at Freddy's needed more time to build its community and fan base and popularity, and it finally, after years, it is finally here in game, and I'm going to be giving you my thoughts while also sharing some gameplay that I have on the screen. So my thoughts on the DLC: is the DLC good? Well, from what we got from the DLC, we got Springtrap as the killer. We did not get a survivor, which is not insanely disappointing because there's just so many protagonists throughout Five Nights at Freddy's and so many versions of the protagonist in every game or adaptation of Five Nights at Freddy's. So it's kind of hard to give a definitive survivor for that, just like an average security guard, but you could just make any character in the DBD survivor roster a security guard. You could just give them a free outfit or something. So we didn't get a survivor, we just got a killer, and we got the new Five Nights at Freddy's, or sorry, Freddy Fazbear's map, the pizzeria map, and it very much resembles the one from the movie in most cases, and I do think it's pretty cool. I do think the map is one of the better maps that we've gotten in recent times. Definitely fits the theme for Five Nights at Freddy's and everything. And just a bunch of cosmetics for Springtrap and a bunch of shirts that are basically all the same, but you can get them for any survivor in Dead by Daylight, which is cool. But that's basically it. We didn't really get too much with this release, and for me personally, it was kind of disappointing in a way to see that like we really didn't get that much after it was announced last year in August that a FNAF collaboration was coming next year. And obviously it's big. We have this new cool map, we have the killer, long awaited, and we have a new system for the killer and survivors, which is like going through the security doors on the map where you can teleport as the killer to different doors, or if you're a survivor you can go through and you can actually look through cameras as if you're going into an office and you're looking through the cameras all around the map, which is cool and it's interesting, but definitely feels a bit light for how much hype it was being thrown around. I think it was definitely a bit overhyped because we really didn't get that much, and I hope it definitely grows more. I hope we get more from Five Nights at Freddy's and Dead by Daylight, not just like cosmetics, but maybe even more to the maps or something. Maybe even like other versions of the maps that are more themed to the other games. And also the killer, Springtrap, his ability is also kind of underwhelming. It's basically just Huntress's axe or hatchet that she throws, but it has more weight to it, so you're able to do some kind of new nifty tricks with it. You can like throw it up in the air, and it has a ton of weight after like a second of throwing it, where it can just climb all the way down to the ground. So I guess it could work if you're on a outdoor map and you're like going through walls and stuff and a survivor's on the other side of the wall and you wanted to throw the axe up in the air and you're moving around the wall and it somehow hits the survivor on the other side if you're lucky. That's cool, but it's also just an easy ranged option if you're close enough to the survivor, and if you hit the survivor, they'll have to like obviously try to take it off, and that will take time for them as they're running away. If you get close enough as the killer, you can actually pull the axe off them and you're able to insta grab the survivor, which is basically just the same thing as whether you hit them or not, but it's just a cooler animation of that. So it's okay, it's not amazing, it's just a very basic killer that does close range and can do some far range if you know what you're doing, and some mind games as well. So he's very okay. He's not like an amazing killer, not like Chucky. Chucky's definitely better, I would say. I think Alien is even better in some cases, but I think Springtrap is just a decent killer. I don't think he's mid like Michael Myers, but I also don't think he's as OP as the nurse. You know what I mean? So he's basically I don't know if I would say he's better or worse than Huntress, because at least Huntress like has she can like throw her hatchet all the way across the map. With Springtrap, you throw it and it has more weight to it, so eventually after a second it will just immediately just fall to the ground immediately, like no hesitation, it will just fall. So in a way it works well depending on what map you're on and if you want to play mind games with the survivors, but it's just very underwhelming for me because I'm not really one for like ranged killers in Dead by Daylight. I'm more of just like close range. I play like Spirit, some of the underrated ones like Michael Myers, Freddy, Ghostface, Leatherface, very simple killers. I'm not a big fan of like Huntress or Deathslinger or anything, just because I play on controller, so it's a bit more difficult for me to aim with that sometimes. I definitely have to like get better with ranged killers on controller, but this killer is interesting because he's good and close range and far range, but at the same time, for what we were expecting to be like very interesting and cool, it seemed to be very, like I said, underwhelming. So I don't know how to feel about this DLC, whether I think, because I definitely don't think it's the best DLC they've released, but I also don't think it's a dog shit DLC. I think it's just middle of the road, just like the killer. It's just very simple, and unfortunately I thought we would be getting more from this IP. I thought it would be more interesting to see. I thought the killer's abilities would be a bit different. I thought it would actually have to do something maybe related to Five Nights at Freddy's 3 with the phantoms that would randomly spawn. Maybe kind of like the Thing, because doesn't the Thing, he has like a teleport ability where he can spawn versions of himself on the ground, and like they kind of just show up and sometimes they move, sometimes they don't. I feel like that could have been the same thing with Springtrap, but it could have been like the phantoms from FNAF 3. I think that would have been more interesting than just an axe that you just throw, because we've seen it before. So I thought it would be more centered around like Five Nights at Freddy's rather than just like very simple, like just grab an axe and throw it at a survivor. I thought it would be more interesting. I do like what they've done with the design of him. I think he's very obviously reminiscent of FNAF 3, and the cosmetics, you have Glitch Trap, and you also have Matthew Lillard's version of Springtrap as the Yellow Rabbit with him from the FNAF movie, which is cool. I like it. The Mori animation's kind of interesting for all of them. So the default one is just him grabbing the survivor, putting a knife through them, putting them on an endoskeleton, which has like saws, which I honestly have never really seen. I think it's more towards the movie, because the movie had stuff like that where the endoskeleton had like saws or whatever the hell, and Springtrap just puts them on it and they just get fucking sawed to death, and then they fall off, and then he gives this goofy little jump scare to the camera, which is funny but also kind of goofy in a way. Glitch Traps is similar, but what he does instead at the end of the animation, he actually does like a shh from FNAF Help Wanted, so it's very classic, very obvious if you've played the game, and it's cool. And then Matthew Lillard's his is just super goofy. It's just the same thing, but he just screams at the camera with no mask. He just acts like he's the scary big character, which he is, but it's just kind of goofy to see him with like no mask and just scream at the camera. It's just funny. So overall, I think this DLC's fine. I don't think it's anything to like write home about, but I definitely think there are some bugs. I haven't really experienced any bugs, but I've heard a lot of people say there are a lot of bugs with this DLC release. So it's kind of disappointing to just see this one being kind of not too much, not as much as we thought, or not as cool as we thought. Obviously, it's great that we get to play Springtrap in Dead by Daylight, but for what we thought was going to be like one of the most epic releases, it really just seemed to be a very underrated one, in my opinion. I think it's one of the just very simple ones. It feels like this release should have been brought back to the beginning of the game, and it still would have been a bit cooler. But now, since after all the killers we've had with all the interesting abilities and stuff and all the different IPs we've had, to have Five Nights at Freddy's now and just have it be so simple and bland, in my opinion, it's just not interesting. I don't know. I mean, I'll play him. I think he's fun, but I'll play other killers that I'm more interested in, like Chucky or Alien or fucking Leatherface. I'd rather play the close range ones than just one that is basically just, in a way, just a copy and paste of one, but kind of made worse, in my opinion, because now I feel like maybe I should start playing Huntress. Maybe just get good with her, because at least she's a bit more interesting than Springtrap. So, I don't know. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. Hope you all enjoyed. This is the gameplay I have. I did okay. These are my first few games that I got to play with him because I didn't really get to play much from the beta. I only did a couple private matches from the PTB. So this is like some of my real first games with him against real players. So yeah. Hope you all enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments what you all think, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.